2020 is literally only a couple of days away, and I'm so excited because I'm starting this brand new year with a new setup. Woo! G'day everyone, welcome back to another Catch Up with Kirili. Today I wanted to share with you something I'm so excited about. It has literally taken me like a month to set up almost. I'm so excited. So what it is that for Christmas, my husband and I went to IKEA and then things got out of hand and I ended up with a new setup for my sewing room and also my sewing dungeon. So just to clarify, my sewing room is more like my storeroom and my sewing dungeon is where I actually do all of the crafting. My husband's the best. He let me take over 2 rooms of the house. Happy wife, happy life. So you may be thinking, why did you need a new setup? And the truth is that I ran out of room. What happened was that I accumulated so much fabric and notions and patterns over the last year that I just did not have enough space. I only had 2 2x3, so I had 12 kind of boxes that was my backdrop. Now I have like 29 here, and then I've got another 8 there, and then I've got like the 12 that I had originally out in the sewing dungeon. So I have a lot of room now in terms of storage, which is great, and things just fit. I will also start by saying the reason why I had such a huge amount of stuff that I accumulated over 2019 was because it was friends who were giving me some fabric rather than throwing it away, and also a large portion of it was actually inherited from my late grandmother. So I have about a quarter of my fabric is now from her, as well as most of my notions and about half of my patterns. And as I watched a few of these videos in the past and I really enjoyed them, I thought you'd like to see my process and my struggles as I went from like the old to the new. And then I thought I'd finish off with a room tour. So enjoy! So welcome to my sewing room as it currently is on the 15th of December. So I actually have this wall of fabric, which is just not enough space because all of that is pretty much chock full of extra fabric that haven't got a space in that current setup. So that's why I needed a bigger kind of storage system. And I just have stuff everywhere at the moment. And like, you know, there's Snow White and I need to put her all away, and yeah, it's just a mess. So this is going to be all about reorganizing and getting my life in order. So yes, what's going there is going to be the 25 storage units, well, 25 sections of storage units from IKEA, the kallaxes, so it's 5x5. And then on top of that, I'm actually going to put a 1x4, which just fits, that will just fit up the top there. So I'm excited for that. I have the 1x4 that I'm using in my sewing area at the moment. So yeah, that's going to be emptied and put in here. And one of these shelves is going to be put out in my sewing area. And the other one is going to be put over there. At least that's the plan for now. We'll see. And there's little Lacey doing her thing. Okay, so this is my main sewing area. So this is my big Jarrah table that I do all my cutting and sewing on. This is like my kind of, I don't know, little storage on wheel unit, which is my go-to quickly pull stuff out thing that is completely in disarray, and I need to get that sorted. Then over here I've got an extra sewing machine because I haven't put it away because my life is a mess. There's Lacey again. She just wants to be in the video. And I use 2 stools currently, or 2 chairs should I say, currently to store all of my stuff on it. Then I've got some extra patterns in the back. So my idea is that I'm going to use one of the six units currently to store all of my patterns, and that way I can remove that box, which is full of all the patterns that I inherited from my nan, and actually put that in the sewing room, or rather storage room, because this is like my sewing room. Anyway, I've got a dress form over there. I've got so many dress forms. And then this is the 1x4 unit that I was talking about. Yes. Okay, so first things first, I need to clear all of this stuff out. out. So I'm going to put that in my sewing area, my sewing dungeon as Terry likes to call it, and hopefully start clearing this room out, because that's the only way to start, is with a fresh slate. Phase 1 is complete. Everything has been pulled out of the fabric storage room except for the costumes, which I don't need to pull out, and have been placed into my sewing dungeon. So the room has been emptied, the floors have been vacuumed, and now it's time to put the shelving, the new shelving, with lots of space, up against this wall. I severely underestimated how long this would take. However, the shelving units are now together, and I've even spent way too long putting those drawers together. I don't know if it will come up, but my hands are super red and they hurt. I've also got the 1x4 up the top there, and it originally was like over there, but it blocked the sensor, so moved it over. I've managed to get the rolls of fabric in there. I needed to do that to figure out how much space I needed in that corner. I've got one of my 2x3s down there, as I said I would. I've got the old sewing machines, some of the dressmaking dummies, and oh, there's the dogs. Yep, dog interlude. And then over here I've got my warbler and my foam. I've got more foam. Girls, I've got more foam that I need to add to that collection. This is seriously what I've been dealing with all day as I've been trying to get those drawers together. The joys of being a fur baby's mother. Okay, so it's been a couple of days since I cleared this room out and just put up all the shelving, which is directly behind where I've set up the camera. And now it's time to bring all the fabric back into the room. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so I wasn't quite sure how much you could see in the last video, but this is the fabric that was in my kallax last time, and these are all the fabrics that I need to add. So I've got a big bin absolutely full of fabric, and then I've got 4 smaller ones full of fabric, and then I've got some plastic bags and a little mini suitcase over there. And yeah, I still need to figure out also what I'm going to do with all the interfacing and buckram pieces that I have. So yeah, I'm just going to spend the next probably couple of hours / days sorting out all this fabric. And the girls are super interested in the fabric. Well, I mean, they would be, wouldn't they? Lacey and Taffeta. Go figure. That's right, you. I've got a bit of fabric. It looks like just a crazy mess at this point in time, but it is somewhat organized by color. Yeah, So I've got a little bit of a game plan in place. So now what I'm going to do is off camera, I'm going to start packing it away in the shelving units and hopefully everything will fit. It's a little bit overwhelming to see this much fabric, but I'm hoping that once it's in the storage unit, it's going to be not overwhelming, but inspiring. Wish me luck. This is going to be a task. Ta-da! All the fabric is now folded up in colour, mostly over here, and then I've got like fabric types down here, and then I've got like patterns and tulle and that over here. It works for my brain, so you know. So now I'm going to work on putting wigs up there and organising all of my patterns to go in there, hopefully. So here's all the patterns. I've got to sort through them and get them into some kind of order. Taffeta, you gonna help me? Hey? You gonna help me? Okay, so the set of 6 has been completely filled with patterns, and I had 1 box spare, so that's full of stuffing. And I really like this setup, so yeah, I'm excited. So next will be wigs, but I realized that I need to get more boxes like this. And the other thing is that these boxes, I didn't realize that this, which isn't from IKEA, this is from, I think, like Kmart or Target or something, is shallower than the IKEA kallax. So the boxes don't fit properly. Okay, so slight update. What it is that I decided to change my curtains because the old ones were white and were pretty see-through, and as I was sorting through my fabrics, there was a few fabrics, only about 3 of them, that were slightly sun damaged, so I decided to get some blockout curtains, and I have removed this cupboard that was here, and I've gone to IKEA this morning and my darling husband has bought me another kallax, but it's the 4x2s. So that's going to go here. We've got some more purple boxes as well, and yeah, let's get cracking. Okay, update time. So basically where we're at is that I now have all the trims that I need to put away, along with all the other little bits of notions and things that didn't quite fit, you know, with the fabrics and the patterns. So basically everything else. So I have made some progress though. In these 2 drawers I have all of my extra threads, because I've got a lot, and then over here I've got all of my zips. So, you know, progress is progress. And finally, with the notions sorted, the rooms were done. And now onto the room tours, starting with the new setup of the sewing dungeon. The 2 old storage units from the sewing room were positioned in the same location as the previous unit. However, one was positioned horizontally and the other vertically. Down the bottom shelf, there is applique papers, sewing machine bits, and overlock of thread. The next shelf up with the 3 bins are to house the bits and pieces of the projects that I'm currently working on. Also, to the right, you'll see my ironing board. The next shelving area up, there is the elastic box, the ironing and boning box, and then the overlocker finally has its own place. Up from there is my planning box with my bullet journaling supplies, the cork and whiteboard supplies, and the camera stuff too. Then to the right of that is my thread collection. In the top boxes I have paper for transferring patterns, cotton tape, and then wire and wig styling stuff. Above the shelving units are my 3 wig heads and my hat block. Moving on to the trolley, it's all been tidied up and it makes me feel so happy to see it this way. The top tier is all the things that I use most commonly. The second tier is all about backup, so things like pins, chalk, a mini iron, that sort of thing. And then the bottom is different glues and machine needles. And we also have a cabinet full of lace and trims because they didn't fit in the drawers in my sewing room. I'm not sure if this will stay out here or if I will find a place within the sewing room for it. But for the moment, it's a good prop up for the cork and whiteboard. It's also a good resting place for my rulers. And now onto the sewing room. What a difference! Let's start off near the window. The new block-out curtains are so lovely. And then I've got my other sewing machines and the new books I got for Christmas on top of my 2x4 kallax. So to start off on the right, we have 2 boxes full of wigs. The top are natural colours and the bottom are the coloured wigs. And then next to the coloured wigs, we have a box of stuffing. Then the rest of this is patterns. The first box is more of my costume patterns. The next is historical costume patterns. Underneath that box is the box that contains the bridal patterns and then the vintage patterns. Kids on the left and adult on the right. Some of these patterns date back to the 1940s. Then over to the right on the top are the men's patterns, and under that are the generic female patterns. Now we move on to fabric, and in the corner is all the fabric on rolls and bolts. And here is a shot of all the fabric, neat and organised. Please may it stay that way. On the far right, we start with a patterned fabric. The top shelf is mainly made up of cottons, but there are a few blends in there as well. The second shelf is for striped and dotted fabric. And then the last shelf is probably one of my favourites, as it's mostly brocades and embroidered netting. Below that are my smaller amounts of tulle and interfacing. Now let's work along the bottom layer. Next to the tulle are my wools. Then there are all my highly stretchy fabrics like lycra. Then there is my leatherettes and a metallic fabric I had. And finally on the side is my scrap fabrics. Now on to the colours, or first, should I say, the tones. The top shelf on the left are the whites, then below that are the beiges and browns, and then below that the blacks. Then we have the yellow and golds, the oranges, and the reds. Next to all that are the blues, the teals, and the greens. And then finally the light pinks, the pinks, and the purples. Then above all the fabrics we have some books and more boxes. The box on the left houses fur, the one next to it has stockings and gloves in it. Then the next one is a bit of everything. Embroidery, hoops, eyelets, corsets, ropes, that sort of thing. And the final box has armour making supplies like the cos tools. Now onto the drawers. The first drawer on the left has cameos and resin stuff along with rhinestones. Then below that are shoulder and bra pads. Next to that we have the ribbons and then the beads. All of the beads. Then we have a drawer that's dedicated to belt buckles, fancy collars and bias binding, and then below that the buttons, all colour sorted now. Then we have the zips, and below that are the different types of horsehair braid and other sew-in fasteners. And finally, as you've seen it before, my extra thread. And next to all of that is my basket of foam and warbler. And thus concludes the room tours. If you've enjoyed this video, giving me a thumbs up and making sure you're subscribed really helps me out. See you next time. Lacey, what are you doing, pup? What are you doing?